everyone, I hope all of you are doing great. So in the last lecture, we talked about this question, best time to buy and sell stock with cooldown, right? And we talked about recursive and memoization approach of this problem itself, right? Now, I have shared a trick with you all so that you can convert the memoization to tabulation in the previous videos. You can definitely try to use that trick to convert this memoization to tabulation. But what I wanted to do is in this particular video, I wanted to cover this question specifically in tabulation itself, basically not relating to this particular approach. I wanted to cover tabulation separately, right? So let's see how can we solve this question using tabulation. For those who are new to this channel, or maybe you're directly watching this video, I please recommend you to watch my previous video on this particular question itself, where I'm explaining the question in detail, right? I'm still going to explain the question, but if you really want to know what this question is doing and how can you solve it without tabulation, or maybe in a real interview, how can you come up with this kind of approach, basically with this question, then you should watch my previous video. Basically, it will explain you how to, you know, develop intuition about this problem, right? What happens is that in a real interview, you do not know how to directly run, like go to tabulation itself, right? It is way more easier to think about the recursive approach rather than the tabulation approach directly, right? So I recommend, if you are preparing for your interviews and you're watching this particular question, to prepare for your interviews, you should definitely watch my previous video first. Somewhere around here, I'll provide the link to the I button itself, right? Let's see this question and let's see how can we solve this question using tabulation itself. So as the question stated, you are given an array of prices where prices of I, right, the ith index of that array, will be the price of a given stock at ith day, right? You all know what is buying stocks and selling stock, basically trading, right? So what is happening in this question is you have to make the maximum profit which you can make. Basically what happens is, let's say today the stock price is 2, right? Let's say tomorrow the stock price becomes 6, right? You sell your stock on that day, right? And you make a profit of 4, correct? You bought the stock when it was cheaper, you sold the stock when it was expensive, and you make the profit out of that, correct? So what you need to do in this question is you have to find the maximum profit you can achieve. You may complete as many transactions as you like. Basically you can buy stock, sell stock, buy stock. One transaction means that buying and selling, right? So transaction means that the whole operation of buying and selling, right? So you can complete as many transactions as you like. You can buy sell as many times as you like, right? But the condition is that you can only hold one stock at a time. You cannot hold multiple stocks at a time. I cannot do buy. I can just keep on buying. Let's say today is, let's say the stock price is 2. It's very low, right? I buy thousands of those stocks. I cannot do that. I'm only allowed to hold one stock at a time, correct? So buy one and sell stock multiple times with the following restriction. There is a restriction, right? You can do multiple transactions, buy, sell, but after you sell the stock, you cannot buy the stock the next day, right? Once you sell the stock, right? For example, today I bought the stock. Let's say tomorrow I sold my stock. Day after tomorrow, I'll not be allowed to do any buying itself, right? So there will be one cooldown day after you sell the stock, right? So let's say on the second day I'm selling the stocks. This means that third day I cannot buy another stock, even though the price might be cheaper, right, on the third day, but I'll not be like allowed to buy because second day I sold the stock. So once you sell the stock, the next day you're not allowed to buy it, correct? So again, you may not engage in multiple transactions simultaneously. Basically, you need to, you must sell the stock to buy again. You can only hold one stock at a time, correct? So let's understand this question more on board itself and then discuss the tabulation approach. So I've taken an example here. What we have here is basically these are the prices of the stock on these days. So this is the 0th day. Price of stock is 5. You can say rupees, dollars, whatever unit, whatever currency you use. One other day the price is 6. Two other day the price is 2. Three other day the price is 3, and so on. Correct. Let's try to do some transactions and understand how we can solve this question itself, right? Basically, let's say if I buy the stock on this day, right, and I sell the stock on this day, correct, I'll be making a profit of 1 in this transaction. Now since I've sold the stock on this particular day, I am not allowed to buy any stock on the next day. I'm not allowed to buy. Let's say basically, since this is the restriction in the question itself, there's a cooldown, so I cannot do any buying operation on this day. Let's say I buy the stock here, right here. Let's say in future I sell the stock here. The profit I'm able to make is 6, correct? And now on this particular day, I'll not be allowed to buy the stock. Not that I want to buy on 8th when the price is 8, but if the price was cheaper as well, I will not be able to buy the stock because here I'm selling, then I'm not be able to buy. Correct. So this day is restricted. I'm just taking an example that what kind of route can we take, right? So just making you understand that after selling, you're not allowed to buy. Correct. It's a seventh day. I'm not going to do any transaction. Let's say I'm going to skip this day. Let's say here I buy the stock, right? Here I buy the stock. Let's say here I sell the stock. Here I sell the stock. And if I do so, I'm not allowed to, if I'm not allowed to do the transaction on this day, and I'm making a profit of 1 here in this particular transaction. Buying on 3, selling on 4, it makes a profit of 1. Now total profit I'm making here is 8, correct? 8 currency, whatever you want to use, 8 rupees, $8, right? And this is my final profit I make. You have to maximize this profit. This means that you need to tell me the maximum profit that you're able to make using these, you can say, days itself, basically using these prices of the stock. I hope the question is clear to all of you, right? This number we want the maximum of this number. I have just taken an example of what can be done, right? I think some better, you can say some better, you can say things can also be made. Let's say if I buy on this day, right? And I sell on this day, right? I'm making a profit of 7 right away, correct? And let's say in future, let's say I buy on this day and sell on this day, correct? So what's the, then I'll not be allowed to buy on here, right? So let's say, okay. So let's say I buy on this day and sell on this day, then also I'm making a profit of 8. So I guess the answer for this particular test case will be 8 only. Not really sure. Let's see what is going to come out. But yeah, I hope you understood what the question is trying to say. Let's try to look at its tabulation approach. Recursion approach, memoization approach have already been discussed. If you want to know how we are coming up with the solution, you should watch my previous video because it is the recursive approach which you will be targeting in an interview. You will not directly give the tabulation approach to the interviewer. Interviewer will come to know that you have already solved the question, or you have, you know, uh, basically learned the solution itself, right? That is bad impression. You should of course go ahead with the recursive approach first in an interview situation, correct? Because that is the more intuitive approach. That approach will lead to, you can say, dynamic programming, because dynamic programming is nothing but optimization over recursion, right? So we are trying to, solve the repetitive work. We are trying to, you can say, lessen the repetitive work. And recursion, when the repetitive work starts to happen, we introduce dynamic programming, right? First solve recursion, then memoization, then tabulation. You should not at all give directly tabulation to the interviewer. This I'm just explaining so that there is another way to solve this question, you know, correct? This playlist is a complete playlist. I'm trying to cover each and every question, with each and every possible solution, right? So I hope you are enjoying, right? Let's look at the tabulation approach and move forward in the video. All right. So I've made, you can say, n cross 3 dv, dp. Why have I made this kind of dp? Because in recursion, if you remember, we are having two parameters, right? One is the I and one is the state, right? State can be 0, 1, 2, right? Depending on what operation we are trying to perform on that day. Either we are going to buy, or we are going to sell, or we are going to do a cooldown, right? So I hope this is clear, because all these things are derived from the recursive approach itself, right? You know what are the dimensions of the DP we make, the number of parameters which are changing in recursion, that is the dimensions of DP you take, correct? So let's move forward. Basically, what we are going to do here, we're going to start from, it's a bottom approach, right? Bottom up approach. When we are doing a tabulation, it's a bottom up approach. Let's try to see what we are going to achieve here. Let's start from the first day, right? 0th day. On the 0th day, if I buy, what's the profit I'll be making? I'll be making a profit of -5, correct? I'm buying, right? So I'm spending money. So -5 is the profit. What is the profit if I sell? Can I sell on the 0th day? No, right? Because I'm not holding any stock. I should hold something already now in order to sell. So technically, I cannot do, I cannot sell on this day. Basically, the profit I'll be making in the sell operation will be 0. And can I do cooldown? Cooldown can only be done once I sell. If I'm not selling, I'm not be going to do cooldown. So cooldown will also be 0. This will be the starting point of your tabulation DP. Right? Let's move forward. Let's look at from this particular day, from 6th day, right? From second day, right? Or I can say 1th day if you talk about indexes, correct? If I'm buying on this particular day, right? then if I'm buying on this particular day, there's a pick not pick approach, right? Either I want to do the operation or I don't want to do the operation. If I do this operation, if I buy today, the previous day has to be a cool down. So if the previous day is cool down, the profit I'm able to make is what? 0 minus 6, which is minus 6 itself, correct? Previous day is cool down, right? I can only buy after cool down. So if I buy today, the previous day will be cool down and the profit I'll be able to make is minus 6. But if I do not buy today, if I do not buy at all, right, then whatever I've already bought, right, will be present. I'll be picking up from here, right? I'll be picking up from here. Why are we picking up from here? Basically, when I'm in this particular buy state, now this means that I am having one stock extra which I need to sell. When I'm in a buy state, this means that I am having one stock extra which I need to sell. You can only have one stock extra which you need to sell only if you are having an extra stock, right? The stock you want to sell in future. Either I can buy today, right? Either I can consider my previous transactions to be complete and buy today. That will be the profit of this particular thing. But if I do not buy today, if I continue the previous buying state, it will be this. In short, at this particular stage, you always will be having one stock extra which you need to sell. I hope this is clear. Correct. What is the best of both of these two? It is definitely minus 5, right? My buying minus 6 is not the option. Buying cheaper is the best option. So minus 5 is giving me more profit. So I'm considering minus 5 here. Correct. Now, if I sell today, if I am selling today, this means that I need to sell a stock which I bought earlier. So if I am selling today, it will be minus 5 plus 6. Correct. I'll just zoom in, right? It will be minus 5 plus 6 because minus 5 was buying and then plus 6 is selling, right? I can only sell when I'm having extra stock. And this is the state when I have an extra stock. So minus 5 plus 6, the profit I'm able to make is 1 from here. But if I do not sell anything, right? If I do not sell this previous stock today, the previous sell state will continue. It is 0. Either 1 or 0, which is better. 1 is definitely more, profitable. So I'm going to consider 1 in this particular state. Let's consider this particular state, cool down state, right? Cool down can only be performed once I sell. So if I sell, that I can consider, or if I cool down, that I can consider. Now notice one thing, that in cool down, no plus minus is happening because cool down state, no transaction you're doing, neither you're buying nor you're selling, you're just staying what you are. 0, 0, the best is 0 only. So you are going to consider 0 only. This will not make sense right now, but let's move forward a little bit and it will, I promise you, by the time we reach here, right, it will make a lot of sense, correct? Now consider to this particular day. On this day, either I can buy a new stock or I can continue my previous buying state. If I buy a new stock, then the previous day has to be a cool down. If the previous day is cool down, right, then 0 minus 2. This is the thing which if I buy today. But if I'm continuing the previous buy state, this is minus 5. Whatever is the case, I'm having an extra stock. So what is better? Having extra stock with a loss of 2 or having an extra stock with a loss of 5? Having an extra stock with a loss of 2 is much better. So I'm going to consider minus 2 as the profit which I want to keep in. Correct? Basically maximum of both of these two. If I'm selling today, either I can, sell today on this particular day, basically this particular stock. If I sell today, then minus 5 plus 2. What is the profit I'm able to make? I'm able to make minus 3. But if I continue, if I don't sell today anything, if I continue with the previous transaction only, I'm having 1. Minus 3 versus 1, which is better? Definitely 1 is better. I'm going to consider 1 here. This you have to keep in mind, this particular area, I'm having an extra stock in my hand, which I need to sell. This particular area, I'm going to sell the stock or I'm not going to sell the stock. If I'm going to sell the stock today, I'm going to pick the buy state from the previous, the best buy state from the previous states. But if I'm not selling today, then as it is what I'm, what I have sold so far, I'm going to consider that. For cooldown state, either I can consider this as a cooldown 0, or I can consider cooldown for this particular sell state. Cooldown happens only after selling the stock, right? So either I can consider this 1 as a cooldown state or I can consider this. See, cooldown can only happen after you sell a stock, correct? Or you can also cool down, you can not cool down. You can plan to not cool down today, right? If you are considering the previous selling stock as cool down, then this will come here as it is. If you are not considering to cool down at all, the previous cooldown state will take over. The best is to consider this as a cooldown since 1 is maximum, right? 1 is bigger. So 1 I'm going to consider here. I hope this makes sense. Correct. Let's talk about this 3, right? Here, if I buy today, then the previous day has to be cooldown. So either I have to consider 1 minus 3 or I have to consider minus 2. In either case, I'm getting minus 2 and I'm having a extra stock in hand. So I'm going to consider minus 2 here itself. Correct. I hope this is clear. Correct. What are the transactions I've done till here? Right. It is as simple as it gets. Right. If you consider this, then I am you can say buying on 5 and selling on 6, and then I'm again buying on 3. This is the profit I'm able to make. Right. This is 1, and if you do minus 3, this is a minus 2 you're making. Correct. Let's say I'm going to write the transactions as well on top of this, right? If I'm in a sell state, what I'm going to do, either I can consider selling the previous stock today, right? So minus 2 plus 3, or I can continue the previous transaction itself. Both are making the same, so 1 is the answer which I'm going to make right here anyways. And let's consider what is the best I'm doing here. Let's say I'm not selling today. Let's say I'm considering that buying on 5, selling on 6 is what I'm doing best here. Correct. If I consider the cooldown state, either I can cool down this or I can cool down this. See, both are same. Correct. Cooldown state will stay at 1 only, right? The best I'm able to make is 1 only. Correct. So let's move forward. Right. 4, if we come on, right? Either I can buy today or I can not buy today. If I buy today, previous cooldown state is 1 minus 4. If I do not buy today, minus 2 will take over. The best is minus 2, so I'm going to consider minus 2 itself. Minus 2 is going to be considered here itself. Right? If I'm selling today, right? Either I can sell today and gain a profit of what? 4. So minus 2 plus 4, which is 2, or I can consider this. What is best? Definitely minus 4 plus 2 is best. Right? Selling today is a better deal, right? Buying on 2 and selling on today is a good deal. So I'm going to consider that I'm going to sell today and make a profit of 2. Cooldown state, the best of these two is 1. So I'm going to consider this only. For 9, I can either buy today, right? Either I can buy today. If I'm planning to buy today, I'll have to consider the previous cooldown state. So 1 minus 9. Yeah, buying on 9 is not the best option I have. It is the most expensive, and why am I buying today? Or I can consider the previous buy. So I'll definitely consider the previous buy state. So this makes no point. I'm going to consider the previous buy state only. Right. So minus 2 is going to be here. Let's consider this particular case when I'm trying to sell the stock, today, right? Selling is profitable today. So if I sell today, so minus 2 plus 9, selling makes you profit. Or I can consider the previous sell state. Definitely 7 is the best opportunity I'm having today, right? So this, I'm going to write 7 here. Basically saying that you're buying on 2, selling on 9, you're making a profit of 7 directly, right? Without doing any transaction at all, right? Any other transaction. Cooldown state, the best is considering this as a cooldown state. So I'm going to consider 2 here. For 8, either I can buy today. Buying today is not a good option because 2 minus 8 is not going to yield you good results. As opposed to if you stay in, buying state of 2 only. So minus 2 will be your buy state. Best option is staying on the previous buy state, right? So minus 2 is going to be the previous buy state. For selling state, if I consider this day to be a selling state day, right? Minus 2 plus 8 will be the profit I'll buying. You can only sell once you buy. So minus 2 plus 8 is the profit you're going to make, or you can consider 7. Which is best? Best is not selling today, but selling on 9th itself, right? When the price was 9. So I'm not going to consider this 7. I'm going to consider, I'm not going to consider this particular, selling today. I'm going to consider the previous sell state. I hope you understand what this is leading up to. Cooldown state is definitely, I'm going to consider this as a cooldown state. This is the best option I have. Now let's move forward. If I sell today, what is going to happen? 7 is the cooldown state. I can only sell after cooldown, right? So see, I'm not considering the sell state while buying. I'm considering the cooldown state while I'm buying. This is buying me an extra day, for cooldown. 7 minus 7 is 0. Or I can consider the previous sell day itself. The best out of both of these two is, doing a buy operation today. This will not turn out to be a good operation, but in dynamic programming, we are nevertheless going to go ahead with this. Right? For selling state, what I need to do, either I can sell today, right? If I sell today, I need to buy, I need to consider the previous buy state plus 7, or I can consider the previous sell state itself. The best is 5 versus 7. The best is 7 itself. I'm going to consider the previous sell state. Cooldown will continue as it is, right? Considering this, if I buy today, consider this, if I buy today, 7 minus 3 is the profit I'll be having, or if I consider the previous buy state, it will be 0. What is best? If I buy today, considering the previous transaction is the best option because I'm already having a profit of 7. If I buy, I'll be left with at least 4, as opposed to having nothing at the buy state. Whatever happens, you are going to have an extra stock in hand. If you choose either of them, you're going to have an extra stock in hand, correct? The thing is that if you consider this particular state, you're having nothing in your hand in terms of money, but here you are having at least $4 or 4 rupees in your hand with an extra stock, right? So considering 4 is the best option, basically buying today is the better option. Selling, in terms of selling, if you consider, either I can sell today and make a profit of 3, or I can consider the previous sell state, and definitely going to consider the previous sell state because there I'm having more profit. For the cooldown state, I'm going to consider 7. Right. Let's move forward. It's about to end. I hope this is clear now, right? I hope all of these things are making sense to all of you. So if I buy today, right? If I buy today, 7 minus 4, or I consider 4. No matter what, I'm going to have an extra stock. Either I'm going to go ahead with profit of 3, or I'm going to go ahead with profit of 4. Best is profit of 4. So I'm going to consider 4 only. If I sell today, I can buy, and if I sell today, the profit I'm going to make is 0. Basically 4 minus 4 is 0, or I can consider the previous sell state, that is 7. 7 is the best option. I'm going to keep 7 here. Cooldown will keep as 7, right? Let's consider this particular day. If I buy on this particular day, right? If I buy on this particular day, the best I'm going to make is what? Previous sell day. So 7 minus what? 4, which is 3. Or if I consider today as a selling day, right? Or if I don't consider today as a buying day, the profit I'm going to have is 4, correct? The previous buy consideration I'm doing, right? If I sell today, the best profit I'm able to make is what? Sorry, this has to be 8, right? Let's backtrack a little bit. I think I've done a mistake here. So if I sell today, the profit I'm already having plus this is going to be 4 plus 4, right? Right. Sorry for the mistake, right? Or if I consider the previous buy rate, it is going to be this. 4 plus 4 versus 7. 8 is definitely the better option. So considering this, look at this 8. How are we getting this 8? You bought on 2, right? You bought when the price was 2. You sold online. You got a profit of 7. You bought on 3. You sold on 4. You got a profit of 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. So this is how this 8 is coming up, correct? Now, if I consider the previous cooldown state, it is going to be the same. If you consider this, if I buy today, I'll be considering the previous cooldown state. So 7 minus 4 or 4. Definitely this 4 is better than 3, right? Considering that we are nonetheless going to have an extra stock. So 4 I'm going to keep here. If I buy today, it's 4 plus 4 versus 8. Both are same. So I'm going to keep 8 here. The previous cooldown day is going to be 8. Right? Best of both of these two, correct? One, if I buy today, I'm going to make a profit of 7 as opposed to 4. I'm going to go with 7, right? If I sell today, right, I'm going to make a profit of 5, or I can consider this 8 itself. So 8 is going to be considered in the end. If I got about cooldown, it's going to be 8. In the end, you are going to find your answer here in this particular day, right? In the sell state of the last day, correct? I hope this makes sense. I hope how we are calculating the answer is clear. Let's quickly, round it up. Basically, if you're in a buy state, either you can consider basically if you are ARR of I, correct? So you can consider the previous buy state, right? Or you can consider the previous cooldown state, minus ARR of I, correct? If you're in a selling state, right, either you can add the profit of the previous sell day, this plus ARR of I, or you can consider the previous you can say cell state itself, correct? If you're a cooldown state is max of both of these two, correct? I hope this makes sense. Okay. If you talk about dynamic programming, let's directly go into the code itself. There we are going to see how comparisons we are going to do. It is basic, it's fairly simple iterative code itself. Let's go over there and see how we're going to code it. So let me reset the code. All right, let's consider how we're going to solve it. I'm going to need a DP. Let's say I'll need n as a variable, prices.length, correct? I'll be needing a DP, which is a 2D array of new int n comma, you can say 3, correct? N cross 3 we need because there are 3 states, correct? Let's iterate. And before iterating, one thing I can do is DP of 0 comma 0 is minus prices of 0, right? Considering, the first case, right? When you remember, right? Selling state for the first day is negative only, correct? And rest is 0, right? This I've set for the 0th. We are going to calculate from the first day for int I is equal to 1, I less than n, I plus plus. I hope this makes sense. Let me go to the board. And so I'm talking about this particular day, right? So for the first day, you need to calculate the answer and you need to fill the DP array itself because this is having no dependencies upon it. And you can simply calculate for one day at least, correct? So I'm going to start calculating from the 1st day. From this day onwards, we're going to start calculating itself. From this day onwards, correct? Okay. Now, if for the buy state, right? For the buy state. So for buy state, DP of I comma 0 will be the buy state of today, right? It will be math.max of if I buy today. What if I buy today, right? Let's more make it more clear. So if I buy today, right? I'm going to do what? I'm going to consider previous day's cooldown. DP of I minus 1 comma 2. 2 is what cooldown is minus prices of I since I'm buying today, right? And if I do not buy today, it will be previous buy state. It will be DP of I minus 1, 0. Here I'm going to consider if I'm going to buy today or if I'm going to consider the previous buy state. This is what I'm going to consider here. Now, for the selling state, sell state, correct? If I sell today, previous buy state has to be considered. So DP of I minus 1, 0 plus prices of I because I'm selling today. If I, consider the previous sell state only. So DP of I minus 1, 1. DP of I comma 0 will be, I comma 1 will be math.max of sell today, comma previous sell. This I'm going to consider. Okay, if I'm on cooldown today, it will be simple, right? So previous sell is equal to DP of previous sell is already I'm having. Let's consider that, right? And previous cooldown is equal to DP of I minus 1, 2, right? So what I'm going to do is DP of I2 is equal to math.max of previous sell, comma previous cooldown. I hope this makes sense, right? If in the end I'm going to return DP of n minus 1, comma 1, the sell state of the last day, correct? I hope this makes sense to all of you, right? This is the accepted answer, right? Let's try to submit it and see if it works, correct? So it's working just fine, correct? I hope this makes sense to all of you how we are solving this problem. The time complexity for this question is of course n into 3, like 3n, right? And 3n you can consider it as O of n only, right? So I hope you enjoyed this question. I hope this question made sense. Basically we covered all the approaches: recursion, memoization, tabulation. If you are facing some doubts in this particular tabulation approach, I would definitely recommend again and again to watch the recursive approach at least first. If you're not interested in memoization, you can skip that, but at least watch the recursive approach. There you will actually gain the basic knowledge of this question itself. I hope you enjoyed the lecture itself, and we have only one question left in the buy and sell stock series. Then we are going to go in some advanced dynamic programming questions itself. So thanks a lot everyone for watching this video, and as always keep enjoy coding, and until next time.